and welcome to the Fixing Football podcast. I'm your host Martin Naylor, and as always, today I'm joined by Liam O'Meara and Luke Foley. This week we had a good little chat. We're starting to get into the swing of things a little bit, and we had a good chat about gambling. It's been a hot topic in the media over the last couple of weeks, so we thought we'd have a dig and see what we could come up with. Thank you to everyone who's listened so far, and please continue to like and follow us wherever you can find us on social media. You'll find all our links at fixingfootballpodcast.com. Please subscribe to wherever you are listening to this, and that will help us a lot. But let's get straight into it. How are we doing, boys? Everything good?
Hello, friends.
Hello, everyone. I'm well. How are you, Martin?
All good here. Luke, I believe there was a friendly this weekend that might be worth talking about, seeing as though you was a bit shy in the WhatsApp group.
I think that's the opposite, Martin. I think you was the one that was shy. Kind of unexpected result, I suppose. From what you were saying in the chat recently, being Arsenal being the model club, United beat Arsenal in a club friendly.
I was talking about the Wrexham game, but we can do the Arsenal one as well. That's fine. What did you think? What did you think? How did you see United so far? It was only your second friendly, and I think it was our third.
Well, to be truly honest, I was flicking between UFC and the match, so
Top fan. There we go.
So, I suppose you can't really take much out of it. It's club friendly. Yeah, we don't really have a number 9. Still seem to be playing Sancho in that position for that game. So that's a big concern. I think from the news I was reading today about the Hurricane, where Tottenham have basically said we need to sell him to make money on him because we don't want him going for the 3 next year. I think this is a big opportunity for United to kind of go in for him and kind of bully out Bayern Munich. So, yeah, interesting, I'd say, the result, because, again, it seemed that what you was telling me, Martin, Arsenal are the team to beat next year.
Right, so before everyone decides to jump to conclusions on our WhatsApp chats, my reference was to the way that the club is run, not what happens on the pitch. That's there's no way Arsenal are the model club in that sense. But I thought United played very well, looked very up for it, and Arsenal looked very leggy, especially in midfield, looked really tired. And it was probably United's result of the season if my predictions go the way I'm hoping. So we'll just see what happens. And then you've got Real Madrid coming up, is that right?
But club friendlies, it doesn't really mean anything, I suppose. It could be.
Well, according to Ten Hag, you don't have friendlies. We don't play friendlies.
True, very true, very true.
Martinez getting into his stride early on, trying to hack down poor little Saka for the season.
Do you want us to go into further, actually, what your complaints were about the match? That the commentary was biased on MUTV? Yeah,
for some reason, my totally legal stream was the MUTV version of commentary. So it was awful listening. And I would advise everyone against it to unsubscribe if you do. If you do see that channel pop up, avoid it at all costs. It's horrible to listen to. Liam, there was some Bolton Wanderers action this weekend. Was that a friendly or was that the EFL thing?
No, friendly. I'd say it's our first. We've had other friendlies, but they were more fitness exercises. This is our first friendly against someone of league opposition away at Salford City.
See, that was my segue from Man United to yours.
Yeah, well,
big local derby. That big local derby.
Beating United, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, it was good, very good result. Obviously, I do think that preseason games matter. I've always believed that. Of course, obviously, the most important thing is fitness and getting your plans in place. But was it last season where Arsenal won nearly every preseason game and then I think dropped 3 points until Christmas? That momentum does matter. So, yeah, very pleased. We've got a game against Everton on Tuesday night. So that'll be a much tougher test. But we've just signed Carlos Mendes Gomez, who we've been after for quite some time. I'm starting to feel quite confident, really, about promotion aspects of Bolton.
I like Bolton's chances this season. I hope they do well. I like to see them get back into the Championship and start competing at that level.
Yeah, so we all do. Yeah, we all support Bolton. We all do.
Luke, we all support Bolton on this pod.
I'd say I wouldn't say I support them. I'd say I'm very intrigued in what's happened with Bolton this season, especially how they're going to spend all the fans' money, what they took from the bonds. So just keen to see how they progress.
Well, we'll get onto that a little bit. Well, while we're on Bolton, there's been quite a lot of talking points over the summer about the gambling and shirt sponsors, or shirt sponsors being taken up by gambling companies. A lot of the money around the EFL is propped up by Sky Bet, which is another one. First of all, where do you both stand on gambling and its involvement with football, whether it be a shirt sponsor, whether it be the Sky Bet EFL? Just as a brief overview, Luke, I'll start with you. Where do you sit with that? Do you think it's problematic, or do you think it's managed and is not a big deal?
I think the gambling culture and the link between football it's always been there. And growing up, all three of us have put bets on it. And I think from a fan point of view, it does make fans matches more interesting to kind of watch, because sometimes it can be a dead rubber and you just took a fiver on the score, makes it more interesting. I think the problem lies.
Let's just leave it there for a sec. So you don't you think that's like it's something that goes with football and it's fine to be kept that way.
Yeah, that's in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, for personally, that's the way I feel. Liam, what's just as we start at this point, where do you feel gambling is with the gambling and betting companies' role has within the game? Where do you stand with that?
I'm concerned this will actually be quite a short podcast, because I actually agree. Luke's right. All three of us have grown up with betting and being in around that environment, and football needs gambling to survive, particularly at EFL level. I hear a lot of suggestions that the money can be sourced elsewhere, but no one ever stands up to the table. I think that the new over the summer deal from Sky Bet will take the relationship between the EFL and Sky Bet up to 15 years. In that time, anyone can step up and take the sponsorship from Sky Bet, but no one has done that. I think there's obviously an ethical argument here about problem gambling, and is it good that some fans that may be vulnerable and children are exposed to so many images of betting companies? Sky Bet's a good example because it's emblazoned everywhere. I remember when Bolton were not too long ago sponsored by Betfred, and the stadium was covered in Betfred. Covered in it. And I understand why that exposure isn't particularly good. However, I do like to bet at football matches. I enjoy doing that. I'm now in a situation where at Bolton they've made the decision to not have gambling kiosks at games, and I think that's unfair. So
they've removed them from the concourse now?
You can't.
And I don't like that. I don't support it. I'm someone who bets, less than £50 a month probably in total.
Yeah.
And I do it for fun, and I want to be able to have that option. it's not going to stop me that I can't do it in concourse. You know, especially with a super Wi-Fi they're building there now, I'll be able to get on it in seconds anyway. So it's a little bit nanny state for me at times, the way that we're viewing gambling in football.
What we've seen with some of the regulations that have been brought in the past, that alcohol has been treated the same way, and you know, there's no alcohol companies on shirts anymore. You can't go and drink out in the stands, but you can get a drink in there. It's sort of teaching people to be. It's not teaching people; it's nannying people into being responsible and keeping them in that way. I think we're all on the same mindset here, and I think the further we go down this road, the more we are constantly catering to the minority and not the majority of people who want to enjoy football in a regular way. This is me speaking. Sorry, Liam, you go.
Jump in, because I agree with you completely, but what I don't think is that the minorities should be forgotten. I just think there's other ways of targeting that. I don't think that if there is an issue with betting companies and vulnerable people and targeting a small percentage of people, then deal with that problem specifically, not cut it out for the majority. Deal with that problem. Hold betting companies to task on that problem.
Again, but you can't argue with the money that these companies have pumped into each of our football clubs. Man United have their own betting partner. I know Arsenal do, and Bolton have had several over the years. It just all got. I think the fact that it goes hand in hand. Luke, what's your take on that? That it still stays hand in hand, or is there anything else you want to add, Blair?
I feel the major problem is the ease to gamble. How easy it is to kind of on an app and just place a bet. I think that's where the real true problem is with regards to gambling on football, because like I said before, all three of us back in the day used to go into the betting shops and actually place money on the results and things like that. And it's so easy to create an account, put money in, and place bets, and that's where it spirals out of control. It's not physical. It's just in essence, it's just numbers. So I think the major issue is the apps.
Okay, but the apps, as a counter argument, the apps have the ability to self-regulate yourself on them. You can set, spending limits or the amount of time spent on the apps. Do you think that having stake.com or any of the 188 bet or whatever it has been for several clubs, having that emblazoned on your club's shirt influences your decision to whether you gamble or not? Liam, what do you reckon?
Well, yeah, obviously it does, because
Does
advertising works. Obviously it does. And by the way, anyone out there is looking for a podcast to advertise on, stake.com, Bet365,
we are pro gambling. Let's put that out there. We are pro gambling. We will accept every sponsorship under the sun. We will act like all of them together.
But on a serious note, I do accept that it is a problem. Like, for example, we don't see them anymore. But do you remember the Bet365 Ray Winston ones at half time where it flashed up with a live bet odd?
Yeah.
I've put them on at times.
Because of Ray Winston.
Well, because of the odds, I would say. Not necessarily ever bang on that. I won't say that pushed my decision-making button. But I would say if it came up saying, let's say Bolton were 1-1 against Charlton at half-time, and it said, next goal, Dion Charles, 8-1. Seeing that at that point might make me put a bet on. Definitely.
That's different slightly because I was more concerned of the shirt sponsors and the regulations behind that and the money that generates for the club. So the money, as opposed to having that on the TV, which generates for the whole sort of football pyramid, if you will, especially AFL, as opposed to having one, there's 8 clubs in the Premier League that have gambling companies sponsor the front of their shirt, which are going to be removed in, I think it's the season after next, it might be next season. So
3 years it is. 3 years it's been done.
in 3 years.
Yeah, I believe it's.
Right.
There's 3 more seasons where they're allowed, I think.
So, like I said, the financial benefits of them are going to have to be matched somewhere else. Now, it's not hard for a Premier League club to get a shirt sponsor. I mean, Nottingham Forest and Chelsea might disagree with that comment, but in general, the clubs, I mean, companies are falling over themselves to try and get on the front of these shirts. But that has been tied to. So this argument about the shirt sponsors has been tied to individuals who've messed up, and we can look at Ivan Toney very recently, Kieran Trippier, Andros Townsend even a bit further ago, where they've been caught out about betting. And do you see any ties between them? Luke, I'm going to start with you. If there's a tie, if it's just it's obviously a coincidence, but is it a contradiction to have them on your shirt, especially someone like Ivan Toney who plays for Brentford and they have a betting company on the front of their shirt? He's a proclaimed gambling addict. How do you feel that needs to be taken forward?
Well, I'm going to just focus on the Ivan Toney case. Obviously, from what I've read, completely wrong what he's done, betting on his own matches. But I'm going to look at it from the other side. It's a bit hypocritical to clamp down on Ivan Toney when, again, as you said, Hollywood bets are on the front of the Brentford shirt. When he was in lower leagues, he was winning Sky Bet Player of the Month, so he was holding that up numerous times. The owner of Brentford made his fortune from statistical research company for professional gamblers. So in that a bit hypocritical, kind of.
I think the rules are the rules. You can't bet on a race that you're in. That just defeats the whole point of competition. So I do think the laws are. I think the punishment. I don't know. Actually, I don't know how I feel about that. I think betting on a race that you're in is crazy, and that should be stamped out. But I do think there should be some nuance in the actual terms of betting. I know as a former football club employee that no employees of that football club can are allowed to bet as part of your contract. I couldn't place a bet on any sport, even though I was not involved in 99.9% of sports and was, off to the side, nothing to do with what happened on the pitch. So, Liam, talk to us. Let us know what you think. First of all, about Ivan Toney, and then this whole argument.
Yeah, rules. You're right. He knew the rules. This wasn't a surprise to him.
Yeah.
And I accept, again, there's 2 parts to this. Firstly, personal accountability. It's not. I've seen things blaming the FA. It's not their fault. They've got these safeguarding rules in place. He knew the rules when he was making those bets. Only he knows, and Brentford will know if he went to seek help at that time. We don't know that. Luke's right. There is a hypocritical element if you look at Brentford's success, and where that was built, and they did pride themselves on this idea of statistical analysis to create Brentford, and the modern Brentford anyway. And what I would say to that is that's a question for Ivan Toney. If he's a gambling addict and he's playing for Brentford with a sponsor emblazed with a betting company, but for all accounts, I don't know if they've changed the sponsorship. I don't believe they have.
No.
Then when they say that we're supporting Ivan, like, how? Because when he comes back in January, he's going to have that emblazoned on his shirt.
So what, would you not suggest then, again, is it not a cultural thing where he's just grown up in a kind of gambling environment, and it's kind of just he thinks, oh, it's just a bet here and there, and it's again, is it a cultural aspect where gambling is just part of it, and
but no,
obviously
you heard Martin. Look, you heard Martin, who emptied the bins at a football club. He knew he couldn't bet on football when he was doing
disrespectful. That was so disrespectful.
When he was there, he knew he couldn't do that. So Ivan Toney definitely knew, Luke. And that's that, I think.
Yeah. I mean, what do you make of the timing of the whole thing that came out? Is that just coincidental to do with the England call-up and the way City was treated with Southgate leading up to the World Cup?
He would have definitely made the World Cup squad. 100%.
But that's why it probably was. Again, only they will know. But they probably were still investigating it at that point. We're pretty sure of guilt and thought we can't have him.
But then,
while this was being investigated,
since then, after the World Cup, made his debut, then received the ban. So,
I mean,
I just think
it is different. The World
it
Cup.
is. Yeah, it is. It's massively different. And if he goes on, to succeed and win us the World Cup, God knows what sort of questions would have been asked. Do you think Southgate painted himself into a corner with the sort of precedent he set with Kieran Trippier, in including him in the squad, not having, not being worried about that sort of checkered past in terms of his betting ban that he suffered while he was in, I think it was to do with his move to Atletico Madrid.
Yeah, the idea that it leaked his move, and friends of Kieran, I think, were put loads of bets on. And I think, if I'm right, the WhatsApps leaked. Someone leaked the WhatsApps and the FA got hold of them.
Some good friends, that.
Yeah, not great, but I think the different situation slightly. I think he's been let down there by his friends. Maybe he was being a little bit naughty, but it's not the amount of indiscretions that Ivan Toney did. And also, let's be honest, Kieran Trippier is a far more important player to Gareth Southgate's England squad than Ivan Toney currently is.
Yeah, agreed. So, I think we're in agreement. I think we all know that there is, or we enjoy the fact that there is a place for gambling in culture of football. But it needs to be, the regulations on it are really nuanced in terms of the way, I don't know how to put it, in the way that any of the, breaches of the trust in terms of, say, placing bets from players, from staff, doing anything like that. I think that, like Luke came up with, the hypocrite argument is just going to be thrown straight back into the face. But we recognise that there is probably need for better regulations on it. I mean, for me, the shirt sponsor one, I think, is crazy. I mean, I don't feel like taking away that source of income from clubs is going to be a positive effect. Luke, what's your opinion on that one?
I feel it's just a tick box exercise for the FA, the shirt sponsors thing. I think they've got to show they're doing something, but in essence, I think it's bigger. I don't think it's going to be able to stop this. Again, I go back to the culture thing. Gambling and football are always going to be intertwined together, so people are going to bet no matter what.
Go on, then.
I think that's harsh. Two things on that I think are important. It's the Premier League that's done it, not the FA, which means that clubs themselves will have voted for it. Any decision that goes through the Premier League needs 14 votes, I think it is.
14,
to go through. Yeah, so the Premier League will have voted for it, but I think it's more of an optics exercise than box ticking. I think they want to look like they're addressing the issue because these are global brands in the Premier League. It's a very different set of circumstances. don't think we'll be seeing it anytime soon in the Football League. But ironically, it's not as prevalent in the Football League as maybe it once was. A lot of these companies wanted Premier League sponsorship because the global companies. There's not that many small-time bookies, which I suppose says a lot, really. But yeah, it's not as prevalent at that level.
Is there not an issue with the causing some sort of monopoly between Sky Sports and Sky Bet? Obviously, the same company. In terms of their viewership, they get to, show their own company as part of the main gambling source for the EFL. Liam?
Yeah, well, I think that's a completely separate debate, to be honest, in terms of Sky's grip on football in the UK. We could do a separate podcast on that. I know that there was a lot of support behind the DAZN bid for EFL rights this year. Yeah. Sky obviously won it in the end with quite a different setup than maybe they've done before to try and resist the lifting the 3 o'clock Saturday kickoff.
Yeah.
So I think some 16 games are going to be on Sky for every club at least this season, which is, well, I'd like to see how it works. I'm looking forward to seeing that. So, but DAZN have their own betting arm, if I'm right, on the app. I might be wrong. I might be completely misrepresenting.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I do have the app. I just forget until there's a boxing fight I want to see on. So
the free trial ended.
Yeah, exactly. So there was a lot of support for that, but I think if we were going down that road, we'd need to set an hour for that, I think.
I agree. Luke, how do we fix this? This is what we're here for. What's our solution to gambling in football? Is there one? What's our stance in gambling in football? Are we happy the way it is?
Go on, Luke.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? I don't really think there is a solution for it. I think it's always going to be there. Again, as I said at the start of the podcast, I think the apps the real problem. So easy to create an account, have multiple accounts. And that's where you see that spiral. Right? It's just kind of like monopoly money and it's just numbers on a screen. I know they've got regulations in apps, so it's difficult. I'm not against gambling and football.
I'm someone who has first-hand experience of this type of addiction in my family and how it can affect not just yourself and your own bank account, but everyone around you. But I still feel that these, them people need to be cared for in a specific way, but not the main focus of everyone's enjoyment is to always have the caveat of Gamblers Anonymous. And the same with when you're drinking, you don't need to see everything about being an alcoholic or whatever else your vice might be at the time. So, Luke, same with you. If you could change one thing about the way that gambling is viewed in football, would you make it more prevalent? Do you think? I mean, what's your view going just from that stance? Yeah.
I wouldn't say push it more onto the public. No. I don't know.
Like you said, we've grown up with it. We've grown up with that being part of the culture and something you can enjoy.
But the thing is, people are always going to gamble. They're going to find ways. And you're right. It's trying to cater for them to make sure there's things in place so people can't bet the world away and bet other people's money as well. It's one of them where.
Would you have a problem if Paddy Power became Man United's shirt sponsor next season? Would you like that? Would you care?
No, not in the Premier. I think it's. from a Premier League club point of view, the money, they're going to find sponsors anywhere, really, aren't they? I think from Liam's point, it's kind of the lower leagues where they kind of need that sponsorship money from betting companies on the front of the shirts.
Honestly, so you'd prefer it not to be because, like, Man United can find the money anywhere, but if Paddy Power were whoever were the chosen sponsor, you'd prefer it not to be. Personally for me, I don't care. I honestly, it doesn't do anything for me. But I'm not someone who's ever suffered with anything like that. So it's hard to say.
Yeah, I'm the same. I couldn't care less who's on the front of the Man United shirt. Well, the Man United shirt itself's usually horrible anyway, with the third and second kit. So,
Liam, in recent history, Bolton have had betting companies on their shirt. Is it something that has bothered you?
No, I mean, not really. I mean, in an ideal world, maybe you'd have something else, but anyone who's willing to sponsor Bolton at this level, then I'm happy to go with, to be completely honest. So no, not massively. I didn't like 188bet because the logo was horrible. That was one thing I would say about them, that bright orange logo.
Yeah.
And they sponsored Wigan at the same time, which kind of suggested they didn't really, like, I know really none of them care, but that showed they really didn't care. Yeah. So that bothered me a little bit. And obviously Betfred is United in it, really, so that was a bit annoying. But again, if they're happy enough to put the sponsor on the front of Bolton shirt, I didn't care when it was Home Bargains. They're happy to sponsor us, and I'm happy for them to be there.
Oof. That's a bad look, that Home Bargains one, isn't it?
It's not. It is what it is, isn't it?
So I'm concerned that we've not fixed this, and we're only one episode in.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Well, that's the thing. It's currently in the process of being fixed. Like I said, with these new regulations for shirt sponsors, is that something you want to see more of? What's next after alcohol and gambling companies to be banned from?
Well, I mean, there are some instances where it's worked out pretty bad. I mean, if you look at Football Index, they sponsored Nottingham Forest, I think it was, off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And a lot of people lost a lot of money on that, and that was completely unregulated. So that was quite bad.
Is that crypto? Could you use crypto on it?
No, I don't think it was crypto. I did look at it. I think I set an account up on it and never really did it. It was like stocks, wasn't it, of football players?
Oh yes, yeah, it was.
And it just overnight it just went like. I did consider having a go. I'm glad I didn't in the end, but I did consider having a go at that. So there is that. But
and in the next Mbappe.
Yeah, that's it, innit? Finding the next Mbappe. That's another one. But no, I mean, we don't. With the changes that are coming in, I think they do safeguard. Most children exposure to football is going to be the Premier League, innit? So it does probably help the vulnerable people that these adverts will target. But I say don't target kids, but we all bet when we're under 18, didn't we? So
I liked. Speak for yourself. I liked when on certain shirts the shirt sponsor would be. So say it was Carlsberg on Liverpool's old kits, on the children's kits, on the youth kits. There was no Carlsberg on at a certain point, and you could do the same with the betting ones.
I think is that law? I think that might be law. I remember the Bolton kit. The children ones didn't have Betfred on them.
Yeah,
I think that's a rule. Which again, that's just it. If you think about it, it's kind of silly, isn't it? But like I get what it's trying to show, but it's like it's kind of silly. But whatever.
Yeah. So we're gonna chalk this off as an unsuccessful fix, but we will keep our eye on it and fix it in the future.
That's all right. We can't fix everything. You know,
I know,
next
but
week
it's not a good start.
it's Man United next week, so we can get stuck into that.
Next week we will talk about Man United. There's a lot going on. Luke, fill us in on what's coming up for Man United before the season starts. You've got Real Madrid next, and then a couple more friendlies, I think. Just give us a little. You've got 5 sentences because you're going to kill us here. There's so much that needs to be done, and everyone knows it. It's written all over every United fan's face. They're worried sick.
The main issue is the takeover. That is the kind of overhanging, horrible situation that United have, and that what needs to be sorted first thing, and secondly, the striker situation. That they are the 2 main topics for United, and yeah, we can do a full podcast if you want on that.
We will pick it up there next week. Thanks everyone for listening. Please like and subscribe on YouTube and follow us on all the social medias. You can find us at fixingfootballpodcast.com. Thank you very much, boys. I'll catch you next week.
And sponsors, we were nice to you, betting companies. Yeah, don't forget that.
Sky Bet, Paddy Power, 188Bet, all of them. I love you.